There's a guy named Professor Rem Varlamov, if you want to roll tape, one of the founders of Russian ufology, currently teaching at the Moscow Institute of Technology. He talked to us because he's a specialist in landing site trace cases.
The our work is not to contact the space intellect, but to understand how the universe works. We wanted to answer 3 questions. 1, do other worlds and dimensions exist? We have measured 22 physical constants to suggest the answer is yes. 2, do our laws of physics exist in those worlds? No, they don't, and the differences can be documented. 3, can we contact this other intelligence? The answer is yes, but we must be careful. We discovered many measurable characteristics within the landing sites. The plants inside these circles, or impressions, were greatly changed. Plants which were inside the circles contained 20 to 30% more phosphorus and carbon, and they grew at a slower rate. We studied 40 elements in the soil through spectrography. 20 of those elements were found in concentrations 20 to 60 times higher inside the circles than outside. Lead was found to be 14 times as concentrated. Titanium, 8.5 times. Cobalt, barium, and zinc, 3 to 4 times. We also documented physical and psychological effects. Inside the circle, heart rates and blood flow were 60% higher. Our testing equipment also was affected at times. We conducted an experiment to see if the measurement of time might be affected by the energy inside the landing sites. We used both mechanical and crystal timepieces, which were synchronized, then placed both inside and outside of the sites. What we found were that after 2 hours inside the landing sites, time speeded up. The timepieces were no longer synchronized.
Fascinating. I mean, measurable differences in the elements and things like that, doing stuff that scientists are supposed to do, not going into something with a preconceived idea. You dig in the soil, you test stuff, you put it under a microscope, and you see what you see. He talked about a whole range of fascinating experiments that they had done. He even had a sample of angel hair at one point, a sort of exhaust product, and had some test results from that. He said that there had been at least 6 attempts to make prearranged contacts with alien intelligence, successful to some degree, I think along the lines of some of the stuff that Dr. Greer and CSETI folks have been doing. Varlamov is not alone as a specialist in landing site trace cases. There's another guy I'd been working with for about 30 years. He's a government biologist. He has recognized some truly amazing phenomena. His name is Dr. Yuri Simakov. He specializes in measuring single-cell organisms in the soil at places where witnesses say UFOs have set down. Go ahead and roll this tape. The soil teems with microscopic life outside these circles. Inside, it's just barren. That's one of the findings. But he also was able to find something that was pretty amazing at one of these landing sites. Actually, these items were found at 2 alleged sites, hundreds of miles apart, years removed from each other. What he found in the soil were these tiny, colorful balls or spheres of unknown origin. Neither Simakov nor anyone else could figure out what they were. He says they contained the building blocks of life, and that when placed in water, they opened up like seed pods. We joke that they were like cosmic sperm, and I'll tell you about smuggling half the world's supply of cosmic sperm through customs sometime. Here he is talking about some of the microscopic organisms.
The single-cell organisms simply leave the sites. They disappear. They don't die. It's as if they were forced to leave the sites. We also experimented with insects. Insects have different receptors than we do. I suspect insects can feel fields not known to us, or fields that are slightly varied. When we placed flies in a dish and put the dish over the landing site, the flies went wild, buzzing and flying around. The balls, I can't find any evidence of their existence in any printed material. They may be formed as a result of transmutation, when oxygen was transformed into sodium under the influence of the UFO, or maybe they are containers to carry life from one planet to another. Still, the objects are not known. One more thing, at the spots where I found the balls, the flies we used in our experiments not only went wild, but were killed, and mosquitoes could be found outside the landing site but not inside.
He gave me half of the world's known supply of cosmic sperm, and we brought it back and have had a series of tests done on it, and over the course of the years, I still can't tell you what it is. It doesn't open up like seed pods. We couldn't get the one plant pathology lab to duplicate that. Dr. W.C. Levengood, if you know him from Crop Circle Research, he's taken a look at them, and he says they are, whatever they are, they're optically perfect. They are perfect little spheres, appear to be glass-like in composition, although the chemical composition is a little bit strange. He says they're 5 times larger than any kind of similar spheres that he's ever seen made, and he worked for a glass company for 15 years. Spheres that are made like that on Earth here are used as chemical catalysts, I was told, but he can't figure out, he says, if somebody made them, and I don't know how the heck they did, if somebody made them, they had to have a very good reason. It could be very expensive and very difficult to do it. And why it was out in the middle of Kazakhstan and the middle of dirt piles outside of Moscow and the soil samples, no one can answer.
Perhaps the best physical evidence to date of alien visitation was obtained by Knapp on his trip to Russia. In an Encounters exclusive, he has permitted us to show it for the first time. These tiny spheres were recovered at 2 UFO landing sites by former Soviet government biologist Dr. Yuri Simakov, an expert in UFO trace evidence cases.
Dr. Simakov and his colleagues had subjected this material to all sorts of tests, and they can't figure out what it is. They've read all the literature, and they can find no natural explanation why these balls would be in the soil, one near Moscow and another in Kazakhstan, separated by hundreds of miles out in the middle of nowhere. He speculated that the material seemed to have all the basic building blocks of life, and that somehow maybe they were containers of life that were sent here from somewhere else. He put them in water, and they split open like seed pods. They sort of acted like seed pods. I don't think anything ever grew out of them. No aliens sprouted out of them, but he was hoping that maybe we could come up with a solution to the mystery if he gave us some of the material, and we brought it over to American scientists for analysis.
Knapp says American scientists have determined that the spheres are not the residue of insects, plants, or any other earthly substance. In fact, they may be the product of some sort of intense heat.
Но обычно мы стараемся, чтобы были свидетели. Значит, лучше, если бывает несколько свидетелей, которые фиксируют это место. А затем мы проводим параллельные исследования, то есть делаем биолокацию, и либо радиометрическими методами определяем место посадки НЛО. Там характерно было то, что была вдавлена почва, как бы огромный каток был поставлен на почву диаметром 4 метра. Почва была вдавлена на 5 сантиметров. Это пока говорит о очень большом весе НЛО. И НЛО представляло собой, как по рассказам очевидцам, колбу. Эта колба была как бы на ножке, стояла на поляне и возвышалась даже над лесом на 5 метров. И что для этого пришлось сделать небольшой аппарат. Он заключался в том, что мы взяли камеру, в этой камере была мембрана, и в эту камеру помещались мухи. Но мухи какие? Дрозофилы, бескрылая линия. Мухи могли только бегать по этой мембране, но не могли летать. Далее шел усилитель, и все это прослушивалось наушниками. Получалось так. Достаточно было, вот в частности эти исследования проведены также в Шарапова-Охоте, было достаточно войти в зону посадки НЛО, как мухи возбуждались. Достаточно было выйти из зоны посадки, мухи опять затихали. Обычно в темноте, в камере, в которой они находятся, они ведут себя тихо и не двигаются. Таким образом, мы можем создать и биоиндикатор, который работает на основе использования насекомых, которые очень чувствительны к различным полям и изменениям.